This is the Astro Primer for August 21st through August 28th. And hey guys, man, I have a cough and I have a voice that's going away. But right now, let's do the Astro Primer. It's Wednesday and let's talk Milky Way. And the best kind of Milky Way. The Milky Way that inches and inches a little further and further away from what we call the full moon. So let's look over at my screen right now. So welcome in everybody. Thanks for joining me right now. And we're going to look first things first over at this pill in your Photo Pills app, the moon. And that's what I've been using every week to do the Astro Primer. And this will be the final Astro Primer for quite a while because I'll be doing these things pre-recorded, and the Astro Primer won't be kept in there since it's such a 1 week important information. I want these to be rewatchable, and so this will be the last one that you guys will be part of. So looking at American Fork from Wednesday, August 21st, it was our first real good night because as you look down here, you see that we have 9:56 beginning visibility and the moon rising on us all the way at 11:35 p.m. 11:35 p.m. is much more fantastic than what we could have had the previous nights. I mean, the moon was on top of us for most of the last week. So going forward, every night just gets better and better and better. And the moon rise is later and later in the morning and continues all the way through this week up until Wednesday, August 28th. Let's look at that. And now the moonrise isn't even until 4:26 a.m., and the visibility ended anyway at 1 a.m. In fact, if we go backwards in time, check out this. The elevation has set, and so the Milky Way core will set on my latitude line long before the moon rises. Will the Milky Way be cool? You'll see a Milky Way tip like this and most of the core below the horizon, but it's still very, very, very cool. So we're looking at, realistically, everything is the same from Sunday night. Actually, this is Sunday morning. So if you go out Saturday night into Sunday morning, this is what you'll experience, where the Milky Way will set at 1:12, the moon will rise there right after, and pretty much for the rest of the week, you'll have the same conditions from 9:40 or so to 1 in the morning. So it's fantastic. Let's jump over to the southern hemisphere. And this week, who should we feature? Let's feature Johannesburg. Let's go down to Johannesburg in South Africa and make sure that that time has changed. Look, cool, Africa, Johannesburg, my time frame has updated. Sweet. It's always the worst when you go in here and these times are still local, but they're telling us go Johannesburg information. So let's jump back to today. The first night, southern hemisphere, you're typically going to experience this. Well, galactic center becomes visible at 7:06, but that moon is still up. And when does it finally set? It finally sets in the morning at 6:38 a.m. Oh, wait, I went way too far back. I thought that was crazy sounding. 21st. I don't know how I got to the 15th up here, but now I'm on the 21st. It's rising after us, which is exactly what happens after a full moon. It just rises later and later in the night until it gets to a new moon. And so this 7:08 p.m. is open all the way to 11 p.m. And so we're looking at having 3-4 hours in the southern hemisphere, depending on your exact latitude line. And looking at every night, it's the same, and gets better and better and better. And you know what? Your galactic center visibility ending time is 2:52 a.m. So with it being 2:52 a.m., you can have this moonrise as late as that before it gets, completely the same look like we were experiencing in the northern hemisphere. So Milky Way is visible all the way up until the moonrise, and then after Monday, so let's say Monday morning at 2:48 a.m., that moonrise is late enough that it's pretty much for the remainder of the week, the moon's entirely out of your way the entire time. So realistically, guys, all of us are going to experience our best times going out Sunday night through on until the new moon and beyond. We are not going to have a moon in our way for any of the hours that we could go. You could go every night, Sunday night on. Let's emphasize that right now with the cam chat on. You guys and me can go out for Milky Way, the best opportunity without a moon rising on you, starting Sunday night through Monday morning. Sunday night through Monday morning is the first night that the moon rises long after the Milky Way has set, so you have a complete and open window every night if you go at the beginning of the night. Anything after midnight is going to run into the moon, and so you're going to want to go before midnight, and you're going to have awesome early nights to go to bed and great hours of windows of opportunity from Sunday night all the way through to the new moon. So get out there and get started, because this is one of our last few months. I mean, we're looking at August, the end of August. Milky Way vertical here in Northern Hemisphere. Milky Way is way above our heads in Southern Hemisphere, and then setting as a panorama. You guys, this is our last opportunity from what we got. August, September, October, November, and it's over. Nothing in December. We have 4 months left of Milky Way photography before the time is up for 2019. So if you've been trying to get a Milky Way every month of the year, get out there. Don't miss it. Let's go. Andrew Buren says, I'm doing it every night next week. I can't wait. Woohoo! Awesome. Yes, that's exactly the plan. And, oh, I clicked on the wrong one. Hey, this is the Astro Primer from August 21st through August 28th, 2019. And now let's begin. Woohoo! Welcome in, guys. Welcome back to Milky Way Wednesday. And as I mentioned to some of you, the very, very last Milky Way Wednesday live. Several reasons. Some of you who follow my Facebook page have seen some of the behind the scenes of the business of photog adventures. And I've talked a lot about the reasons I need to make changes and become an essentialist. And what do I want to do with photog adventures now that I have 100% rights to do anything and everything I want? What should I cancel? Well, there's a few things that I've canceled. And those things are bad quality, talking about myself more than talking about you guys. Unless when I'm talking about myself, it's motivating you guys to get out there and do some Milky Way photography, I'm not going to talk about myself. Now, it's not like I really had a problem with that in the past. I think what it means is what Photog Adventures' whole social media experience goal is that Instagram, push it, make sure we get likes, we go bam, boom, boom. You know what? I have 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. We have 2,500 active listens every week on the podcast, which, guys, I owe you tonight's podcast still. And we have, I'm trying to think of Instagram. It's a little over 2,300, 2,200, something like that. It's not a high number, maybe 2,800. And so those numbers no longer matter to me. I wanted to grow Photog Adventures and see these numbers, so we were making changes, and we were going to cut this and make that better and do more this and make sure we have this to grow those feeds, but no more. It doesn't matter right now. Whatever it may grow into is whatever it may grow into. I'm stoked. My main goal was to get past 10,000 YouTube followers. 2,000 subscribers is beyond awesome for the podcast. And then for you guys here, Milky Way Wednesday, I love it. I see Cheryl Kerr has made it. Yes, missed too many. And Cheryl, this is the last one for a while. Sorry. I'm scrolling up on this window and I see that 30 people are in here with me. And that's something that I'm desperately going to miss. Having that instant feedback loop of, oh, who's watching? Who can I entertain right now? Who can I tell stories to? But as you watch, I'm sitting here with one hand telling a story and the other hand looking over here and switching buttons. And I don't have a producer to help me with this. I never had any other help. So it's a one-man band. It's like that guy with the cymbals attached to his knees, banging them together with a big bass drum and then picking on a little top hat. And it's hard to juggle all these things. So quality is what I want in Photog Adventures, and I'm going to cancel all bad quality things. It's hit and miss with Milky Way Wednesday, the one-man band, the jumping around, the pointing at things. That's not going to change. I'm going to keep making cool content, but instead of having a tech issue where I can't get my superimposed graphics over my head and I run back and forth between here and show things to you guys, I'm just going to record it, pre-record it, and what works, doesn't work, I'll fix, and then I'll go, and I'm excited for it. So you guys will be able to chit-chat on Milky Way Wednesday. Every time a video is released at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, this chat will be live. Check it out next Wednesday. Look at it. I'll be in Oregon Coast. You can see the video that comes out. Test it. See if people are there. Talk to them and hang out with them. So your friendships of talking amongst each other right here on the cam chat. I say cam chat. That means nothing to you guys. It's just the code word I gave to OBS when I switched to the scene that shows my camera plus a chat window right here. I've got to stop calling it that when I talk to you guys. But she says it's okay. It's so glad to be here now. Philip Sisto, just make sure you don't lose that personal touch. I implore you, man. Don't lose that personal touch. You know, Phil, I don't even really know what I'm doing right there. And so I have no desire to stop it, change it. And luckily, I can say that naturally, I think I'm doing exactly what you want. So that personal touch won't die. Those of you who are patrons of Photog Adventures, you will actually get live hangouts with me, but they'll be a little bit different. They won't be like Milky Way Wednesday where you get me talking a little bit back and forth with you and then talking at you for hours. It literally will be a hangout with me, and we'll talk openly about stuff. And so that should be an opportunity for you to hang out. And a lot of you on here are patrons. And so I know you'll still have access to that. And any of you who want to join, go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Photog Adventures. And you can join us anything from $5 on, and you'll get access to those videos there. We can talk live. So the personal touch won't die. I think that's what I love being, is a genuine in contact with you guy. And so I think that's a change. But zip it, Aaron, man. You're already at 7-Eleven. Let's just move on and talk interesting stuff. So let me switch this screen over to our sponsor of this show, which always is MilkyWayPhotographers.com. I sponsor myself. I really believe in myself, so I sponsored myself on this program. And want you guys to know that MilkyWayPhotographers.com is giving away another Mindshift bag. We just recently released it. Stanley Harper and Kurt Keyes announced the winner, part due. Let's give a little bit of credit to that winner, and that winner is... where is it? And the Mark is in there. I just don't see his name written somewhere up here. Mark, is he in like a small text that I can't see right here that accidentally got the same color? You know, it doesn't say Mark's name, guys. We got to change that in the link. We got to put his name up nice and big. I know it's part of this, and the bag giveaway video probably mentions Mark. Here's how they randomly get, and Mark Roberts. Looks like the name is Mark Robert. So congrats to Mark Robert, who just won a Mindshift bag, doing something that I don't even know what the part due section wanted you to do for the giveaway, but Chase the Milky Way giveaway is doing part 3, and you can join Stanley on that right now. So go to MilkyWayPhotographers.com, register, which is right here, log in and register, and I've updated this sign-in, so now you can go directly to it, and if you don't have an account already, just go to register and get yourself on MilkyWayPhotographers.com, and this will keep growing. This will not stop. This is part of that quality thing that I'm going to focus on and make even better with Photog Adventures. So there's the sponsor. Now let's go to my images. We are going to talk about images that I felt were one of my favorites. You guys have seen them. Here's this. Here's this one. I have it too. And this one is in this image. So I'll show you this one. So these 3 images are 3 of my favorites. This one is not necessarily one of my absolute favorites, but it's on my desktop. I love it. I like seeing cameras and lights and knowing the whole experience of lighting up this scene. And so I enjoy this image. Is it a portfolio image? It's probably interesting to some people, and I think it's not bad at all. But it's not the perfect quality, and it's just a story, and I love it, and it's a memoir for me. So I chose this one since it came from 2017. This image is from 2019, and this image is from 2018. So I pulled them all in here, and you can see them with the edits that they've had. Oh, I was still going through that and putting these back to where they were because I need to make sure that I don't override. I was just talking to Teresa right before this began, and she was saying that she made a bunch of edits to pictures that she had originally done one way and then recently updated, and then she had to go find where those other, posts and other edits are. If you go into your Lightroom catalog and you make changes, this history up here will save everything afterwards. But if you go to, say, the beginning import and start making changes, everything after here will get deleted. And so I'm making sure that I'm taking every one of these images and going back to the last edit so that all the stuff in between that is still there, haven't lost it. I've created virtual copies of all of these, and I'm over here in this collection where all of these images are raw. So now, obviously we believe in you too, Teresa Rice says, so that's awesome. Are you going to join us for the chats at least part of the time, she asks. So let me handle that real quick. Over there on the patron chats, yeah, I'm going to be joining you for the whole thing. Will I join you on the chats during Wednesday night when these are being pre-produced? If I am not out doing something else or working on something else, I hope to. That way I can answer questions and be available to you guys on Milky Way Wednesday, but just don't have to have a show being performed by the miracle of balancing act. And so I think that is going to be fun, that you can see me talking with you while Aaron King, the monkey, the performing monkey, is doing what we did on the pre-recorded stuff, and nothing's going to slow him down. Also, look at the time, 7:16. Aaron King gets in the vortex of live video feed, and I can take up an hour like that. And so I have to be very careful to keep these things a half an hour or shorter. And with the pre-recorded options, they're going to be that way, because I'll just give you the highlights of what I was teaching, and it's going to be a lot more fun. So fantastic. Back to the screen. Let's go into the cow course of the week. And I am going to look at this image, and let's take all of the post-processing that we did on this image, and let's apply it to the other panoramas. So I'm going to take something that I did in 2017 and apply it to the images that made this. So right here, that doesn't have in our characters masked in because that's through Photoshop. The image exactly is an overlay, and I've taken down all those old Milky Way Wednesdays, so you can't access them unless you personally ask me for one, and then I'll give you the unlisted link. If you have the old link, it's still there, it's just unlisted, so you can always go back to those old Milky Way Wednesdays if you find any of my old posts linking you to them. But currently, if you go to YouTube, you won't find them. So when I talked about how I produced this and how I've created this pano, and then I had Brendan and I walk out in the water and go here, and we capture ourselves. That frame of us in the frame, it didn't match up in the panorama stitch very well, so I ended up just overlapping it, matching it, and then in Photoshop cutting out all of the abstract changes, because the lens stretches on the edges, and so there's stars that were on the edges that were stretched at different locations than they are right here in the panorama stitch, and so it's not included in this frame. So if I take how it used to look, and each one of these frames get applied what I did to this one, how's it going to turn out? What's going to happen? Well, let's talk a little bit about how presets work. And I am going to move Aaron King's face and get you guys to see all of the content that's over there. So, and by the way, guys, hook me up with a question on the left. If you guys have any questions in all caps that are really critical and I'm going too fast, hit me up there. Mary Beth, I want to say thanks. We love you too, Mary Beth. And what up, brother? Sean M says, Sean M, if you guys click on his profile, find out his YouTube channel, because he's got a great Astro channel that he's working on. And I don't know what your latest thing was, Sean, but follow Sean. Find him. There's going to be a lot of good content coming from Sean. So let's look at this. Here's the side. And if you think about presets, all of us have gone through that whole, let's say, the ladder of learning. As we get into Lightroom, we find out there's these cool places that tell us how to do certain things, and they sell us presets for $1 or $2. So we bought like a package of presets, and then you looked at them when they were applied. You apply them from the left side over here. You'd have a preset up in this corner, and you have custom ones that you've imported. And when you hit on it, something would happen over here. these things would change one direction or another. Boom, 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 boom. How much saturation and vibrance was decided by your preset. So how they worked was simply just giving all of the settings of this, anything down here, and packaging it up as a specific setting value and saying, here you go. Apply these to your frames. And then you put it in there and see what's done. And sometimes it would look one way and sometimes it would look another way. So pretending like these settings right here are a preset for how I post-processed a very air glow evening in Escalante, and apply them to how this image looked that has its own air glow going on top of this light pollution glow that I adjusted for, on top of just completely different conditions. More light pollution here than out in Escalante. So let's see how that goes. So first off, I'm going to take this image and I am going to drag it into my copies so that I have a version of this image that has all of the edits on it. And so now I'm going to take this image. You see how there's the raw, here's the one with edits, and I'm going to select every single image here that is from that Salt Flats night. In this case, the Salt Flats, I've taken the bottom row of the pano and the top row because the settings never changed. Over here on my island in the sky images, the lower half was a completely different setting so that I had, well, it wasn't really completely different. It was just a minute-long shutter versus the 8-second shutter. I didn't change the ISO, I didn't change any of the aperture. So looking at the bottom half that I had completely different settings, I shouldn't apply the same changes to. So I'm just messing with the sky of Island in the Sky, not the, foreground right here. Not messing with any of those. So now that I have all those selected, I am just going to sync those settings up. And clicking over here, I'm going to make sure I don't do lens corrections, spot removal, cropping, transforming, local adjustments, because it's not going to apply well globally on all these other images. And I'm going to hit synchronize. So syncing that up, and now you can start to see clip, 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 clip. Changes are happening. Changes are happening. And so to remind ourselves, this is what my image looked like when I did my panorama stitch originally. And now we're going to do one while I let this run in the background. So you guys know panoramas. Select all the images in your panorama and choose Photo Merge, Panorama. And in this case, I am going to uncheck the Create Stack. I don't want that. And I'm going to choose spherical because it has 2 rows and it's very wide. Always do spherical when you have 2 rows and it's very wide. Cylindrical is really great, very wide, but better if there's not 2 rows of images. If there's just a single row, cylindrical can work pretty well. I still hate it as it usually stretches the top of my image. Perspective is only used when I'm working on one angle. I'm shooting a pano that kept the same perspective in the image from top to bottom to every corner. I didn't take a wide angle lens and go far left that took a train track that was straight and go like this as it changed from right to left. If my perspective stays the same, then that stays the same. So you can already see some of the holes that I have in my panorama, because as it gets to the bottom here, it was having a hard time seeing this frame. So you can already see some of the work that I had to go through to stitch this together originally. Well, boom, bada boom, that is going to be fine. That's all the settings. Spherical is good. 4 of 21 images were unable to be merged. That's where all these holes come from. We're not going to solve that right now. We're just going to go ahead and merge just because it's the overall look that we want to evaluate. We don't care if that pano is perfect. So while it does that, I'm going to hop over because we got Create Panorama. So I'm going to hang out with you guys. Looks like Joe Choi has joined. Howdy, man. Hey, hey, hey. And what else did I miss as I go up through this chat? Mark Roberts, Stanley says, is who won. So emphasize Mark Roberts was the winner of this part deux. Hot Shots Part 2. That's where I first learned that. And then I had a French class. And I'm not singing it very well. Je m'appelle Jean-Pierre. Well, Greg Peterson, I'll be out Saturday night for sure. Go to my local arboretum. Yes, Greg's going to go out. That's awesome. And he's going to go out Saturday night to Sunday morning. You're going to have a great full night. You're just going to have, 40 minutes maybe, I think it was, that it kind of cropped in with the moon. But maybe at your local arboretum, Greg, you're going to end up having that moonrise be an interesting feature for your foreground. So don't move your tripod. Get your shot of the Milky Way, stay there in position, and then capture the foreground and see if it looks better with it lit up by the moon. Who knows? So my panorama is creating right now. Blasted sakes, I wanted to show you guys something, but let's do that from here now that I have the screen being blocked. There's something else I thought of too that I was like, ooh, I should add that, but I didn't want to do it on the screen while you guys were looking. What was it? What was I thinking of? The lights that I have been trying to talk about for quite a while, these balloon lights, and I actually lost that little balloon light that I had. Somewhere in the process of moving this stuff around, I have left it somewhere, but I'm going to show you guys right now on my iMac screen this interesting feature that will join you on your Milky Way adventures from here on out. Absolutely guarantee these are awesome. So you saw me hold one last week. It's this tiny little ball, and you can see it here. And it won't magnify. Come on, just let me hover and magnify. How about this one? There we go. That makes it nice and big for you. You can see those little circular tabs. That's interesting. My focus is changing. I think it's because of my screen. You guys are seeing me all blurry. There you go. That should work. So right here above my head, I have these balloon lights. They're small, and when you pull out that circular tab, the batteries connect. And those connections can last, I think, a few hours, and then they die out. You don't want to leave them in position and have them die out and not find them again, because we are not going to recommend anyone take these out there in nature and let them get lost. That would be the worst. So you don't leave any trash out there, but with these little lights, man, they light up quite a bit, and they can be placed in spots that make it. Have you ever been out with low-level lighting and you take something, you take something like this, and you try and hide this next to a rock, and you got a very, very hot spot on the rock and a big one because of this panel right here. Well, with these little balloon lights, you can lay them around something small, have plenty of small elements that are blocking your view of the camera, seeing it directly, and you're just seeing the light as it comes off of these. It's really fantastic. Royce Bear was talking about these on the podcast, and he recommended them for breadcrumbs to find your way out too. Sometimes you go to a tripod location, find it in a day, and you're like, yeah, okay, this is gonna be great. Let me go back and get all my lenses, because I realized I want to try and do a gigapano here and not just mess around with my big wide angle. But I left that back in the car. So plop, plop every few feet, and then you've got this track that goes. Hey, Sean, make sure you share that message of what your YouTube channel is. So share it up there. That'd be awesome. So that breadcrumb path can lead you back to your tripod, and if I had that in Goblin Valley, I would have found my way. Just make sure you pick them up as you go, and they're great little low-level lighting things. And the best part, 100 of them for $14.49 on Amazon. So you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and give you guys an affiliate link right here from Photog Adventures, so you guys who are in the chat can see this. Kablamo. That is the link right to this version of them, Acmore, which is ones that I've already ordered, but they're not here because I'm a forgetful procrastinator sometimes on ordering these things. You can go for colors. I just went for daylight ones. I just like these big white ones. They're nice, and they are fantastic. Okay, back to milkyphotographers.com. So this panorama is complete. Let's see how it looks. So right now the quality is being adjusted as this is loading down here. You can't see it. It's underneath me. And come on. There it is. Okay. So quality levels are matched between these two images. One has been stretched and completed, and one has all of the rawness of the file. And when it's sitting there in that quality, it has a little different texture, a little different quality brightness to it than that. But it's interesting to see how similar they are. So let's look over here. What's different? The major difference is, let's see, 4121 versus 4150. Not a huge difference in the color difference, but tint +3 to +6. Okay, that's different. Exposure +20, 45. In fact, let's just do this real quick. I'm going to grab a screenshot of that. I'm going to open this up so you guys can see these right next to each other, and it'll be easier for us to compare. So I'm going to put this right next to this one. Ooh, don't move on me, friend. I like you nice and big. So we have 4121 to 4150, +3 to +6. Exposure went up to +48 on the new one, but originally only +20. Contrast 45, contrast 43, highlights all the way down, shadows up 25, and this one has it going way down. So see the new one? Because of the difference of the scene, my shadows changed. Oh, why did my shadows change? Let's emphasize something here, guys. Those of you who are new to Milky Way photography, post-processing, or any post-processing in Lightroom, when you're playing around with the Milky Way image on this Lightroom panel, you're going to change your white balance and your tint and make that match up. And those will change probably every image based on your personal preference as you go through. There's a method you can see in my YouTube video. Well, the thing about highlights, whites, shadows, and blacks. Highlights and whites are what you're doing to make your sky look awesome. But your shadows and blacks, you bring it up or leave it one way or another based on what you want to do with your foreground. And so with our night sky, we hardly ever get any benefit in the night sky with the shadows and blacks. You can kind of see a little change, but for the most part, you're assessing what to do on that slider based on your foreground. And if you're doing that based on your foreground, when I have a mirror reflection sky right here versus a version of the image, and let's just say done, version of the image where it came from originally that has this for a foreground, what have I done? Oh, my eyes are itchy. Sorry. Right here, we have black, more black to draw the attention to the photographer's shadow and then the light. And so I brought my shadows down. I didn't want to bring them up plus and see more of what is down here. The underexposed purple sensor noise of the foreground. And so when I apply the changes from this image to my other one, I brought all the shadow choices down. And then the contrast difference was really minuscule. It's 45, and then the contrast over here was 43. It's exactly the same. And so you'll find, yet even though you kind of complete your images in a similar way, every time you base off that exact image you're looking at, you'll find that you'll get in a rhythm of things that are roughly the same, and you approach them the same, and before you know it, you're editing your images in like 5 to 10 minutes. So let's try something now. We have these changes that we've applied to this panel, but what would happen if we take the changes that we did to this? In 2019, I went through these images and made them the way I loved them, and yet it's kind of purple. Look at the differences between these two images. Let's just go here. Very, very green, very, very purple, very, very green, very, very purple. So let's see what happens when I take one of these frames and bring it into the copies one and apply this edit to these frames. So I'm going to sync up all of those again, but instead of using my 2017 Escalante, I am going to use my 2019 Island in the Sky image. Okay, selected all of those. Good. Let's do sync. I've already synced these. Can I do another sync? Yeah, of course, because the settings that are on that, wherever those sliders are, will adjust those sliders wherever they got moved to. It's not a one-time thing. If this one says contrast is at 22, it's going to make the contrast on these images all 22. It has nothing to do with, oh, I've now synced them twice. It's affecting it 2 ways. No, it's just going to change it to exactly what these all here. We've selected the exact same things, synchronizing, and now all of these images are getting a different change, and whoa, they're getting quite the blue. Wow, they're getting blue. So what happened? When I was post-processing this one and changing my white balance, I actually hung out at 3690 for my final image. Is that the source of some of my purpling? Let's find out. Let's bring this up to 41. Oh, yeah. See? That goes away from being as purple as much as it just ends up being very copper. And I feel like in the moment when I was changing this white balance and seeing what I enjoyed, I was trying to make it look natural and not like yellow light pollution going in the sky, because that's not the area of Canyonlands. It's not heavily light polluted. These are just a few hot spots where you can see some cities like Moab's over here, and this is probably Cannonville. No, not Cannonville. That's over by Bryce. Think. It has a name that could be a Monticello, not Monticello. Monticello, that's what it is. And so I chose 38, coincidentally. Well, that 38 being applied over to this one, it makes some big changes, very big changes. So let's just do the sky elements, and let's make a panorama out of that. So this just goes a little faster. Panorama. We're not having any auto settings happening, and we're going to keep it spherical, and whatever it comes out with, we're going to go. So, hey, Teresa just used the link to order them. Thanks, Teresa. That's going to be like 30-something cents or something commission for me, so thanks so much. I really appreciate it. That's awesome that you would do it. Joe Choi, how long do the lights last? They're all different. These ones, depending on how cold it is outside, it's going to react differently. Man, this is not going to look cool. I'm afraid of how blue this one's going to look, but let's merge it. Let's merge these right now. Here it goes. So answering Joe's message about these balloon lights, looking at the Amazon page, it at least claims that, looking at the specs, lifetime, more than 24 hours. Now, that's typically in a balloon in a warmer environment, and so they're not necessarily going to go that long. But let me pull this up for you guys to have as a witness. So 2 pieces of battery already included. Size is 1.7 centimeters in diameter, more than 24 hours, cool white, 100 pieces. That's it. When it's out in the cold, they might go faster. I know that Royce has said that he's used some one night and then packaged them up, put those little tab back in there, and then used it again. So when I quoted in the beginning that at least a few hours, I was way underselling it. It can go a lot longer, and most likely will be used once or twice for you as you're out there with them. So, I use the tea lights too, Robert. So Robert have used the tea lights. They like that. These look easier to carry than the low-level lighting tea lights I had used. Yeah, those tea lights can be bulky in your bag, while these can fit in your pocket. And honestly, if you need more brightness, just put 3 or 4 of them right there. Very simple, very simple. I'm going to be using these at Escalante every time now. All right, let's go see how this panorama looks. I am thinking it's going to look crazy. So here was the pano that we did there. You know what's interesting? Oh, I just did the sky. That's why. When I did the ground row, it actually had some issues connecting holes. But just doing the sky, I had no problem stitching. So looking at that compared to this original one, I definitely love the original one more. I love it a lot more than this. And you look at the blueness of that. Oh, that's crazy. So obviously, as a color white balance change is made, you're going to see things differently, and they're going to come out completely different in each image. However, as far as the exposure of the Milky Way and how it pops out, what's going to do anything for the Milky Way on here? The dehaze will do something. The highlights and whites bringing out the stars versus the background, as well as the exposure amount you give it and contrast you give it. If you go ahead and do an S curve on here on the tone curve, I'm in the middle of trying to figure out the math of where this affects differently than the sliders of these 4. So I'm not going to give any answer on the benefit of this. I just know that once you've done this and this and this, here's another place where you can interpolate some changes. When you add this dot here and pull it down, you're not just affecting shadows. You're taking all of the settings and having them gradually grow into a little bit more dark shadows and then grow back to the signed line. Because this line right here, the way that it has that S, it's just interpolating. How do I make sense of that term if you don't understand what I mean? If you think about an animation, you have keyframes and you have a runner going, here's a foot in the air, the other foot in the air, then a foot touching the ground, then both in the air, then a foot touch the opposite foot touching the ground, then they're both in the air. And those are the keyframes that make the animation possible. Our eyes can see just those keyframes and just imagine what happens in between. Well, what they could do is create tweens, and tweens are in between frames. So it's not just from in the air, foot on the ground, in the air, foot on the ground. Let's see. You can't just jumping in 4 quick frames, pop, 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 which is actually very still possible and looks good in your eyes. You'll have the in-between frames where you have some parts of the way movement as it goes all the way through, makes everything smoother, and it looks better. So if you think of the interpolation on this change here, instead of just keyframes, it has all the in-between frames, making that change kind of gradual from one end of the histogram to the other end. And it's making that nice, okay, it's going to start out on this setting and then slowly go to the depth of this setting and then come back up to this setting and go there, instead of just pop, 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 pop. If that makes sense, then you can see the benefit of doing a tone curve over just changing these sliders. It just feels like sometimes this is redundant, and I don't know if I've necessarily found my reason of when I do this, because sometimes you just grab that down, pull that up, done. It's so applied with very little thought that it makes you feel like, I don't know if I should keep doing that as part of my process. Well, let's go over to the edits, because I want to get the original shot of this. Let's just get this frame. And I'm going to pull this one over to our, can you show me the collection? I'm going to pull it over to the copies collection. So now I can take the edits of the original salt flats image and apply them over here to my very purple, very 38, 36 temperature down. Oh, that's just crazy. So let's apply them, let's sync them, and go for it. So now I'm applying what I did the night of the salt flats over to the images of Island in the Sky. And, you know, my choices of how much exposure, contrast, yada, yada, all being applied there. Let's go ahead and deselect this one, and all those other ones are still selected. And let's do a quick photo merge. Panorama, spherical. Zeraldo Lagrange says, I have some and left one on in my home, and it was close to 7 days. It does start to diminish. Now, this was inside a climate-controlled house. So yeah, I think that makes sense, is that the climate control, not going and dropping extreme temperatures down or up, they have a long-lasting capability that you don't get when you do it. Oh man, this is looking really, really weird. It's crazy how weird. Okay, let's merge this. Yuck. It's interesting. Oh, I think, it's interesting. I think it's the highlights. As I look at the settings on my salt flats versus the settings on my image in Island in the Sky, I brought the highlight slider from 0 down to -100 on salt flats. And now that it's being applied to the Island in the Sky shot, you can see it's going from what was actually +27 on the highlights to -100. And so what we're merging right now is a very dim version of it. A very dim indeed. So this is going to be the last image that we're going to go through, because, man, it's already 7:43. This already takes up so much time. So while this merges, let's talk one last time about... Oh, yes, that's what it was. Woo-hoo-hoo. I sound like Winnie the Pooh right there. The wonderful thing about Tiggers. And now I sound like Tigger. Workshops.photoadventures.com. Yes. Right now, guys, in fact, I'm going to kill myself. Kill the view of my face. So you can see this. Right here, Zeraldo Lagrange is right there. And we are hanging out at Goblin Valley, and that's one of the workshops for 2020. This video right here, I'm going to re-record a new one and update that, as well as I have content that's coming out that's going to make workshop attendees have a much easier time. Emails constantly back and forth. What gear What should I do here? How can I use my camera? And then we show up on location and I'm teaching some basics that I can get you guys even further along. I love talking in this kind of environment. Even though I'm looking at a camera lens, I still feel a connection to you guys and I love doing it. So this website is not up yet because I am creating a little course, like quick hit lessons that are going to take those of you who jump in with the Milky Way course with me. You're going to get a big primer that's going to help you get ready for the Milky Way. I was like, oh, okay, learn how to find the magnification button on your camera. Your camera body is different than mine. This is what mine looks like. This is how you do it. Make sure it's doing this, accomplishing this goal where I have the live view screen and I can magnify in as far as it'll go and look at a star and now use my Carson LumiLoupe and make that great. Then I can tell you guys to go into your bathroom, shut all the doors, make sure it's really, really dark in your bathroom, and now try and use your camera. Change your ISO, change your aperture, find out how to get your play button on so you can see how that image looked that you just captured. You want to get good at these things before you join us in a workshop so that we don't have to fight with red headlamps and fight with each other. Hey, I'm ready to go. Why aren't you ready to go? And over here it's like, hey, I got this crappy camera that for some reason we can't find the setting to turn off the zebras that are being added onto our star, and now it's hard to get focus. It's like, okay, buddy, we'll just get that going fast because I want your headlamp off so I can take a picture. It's like, okay, fine. Everyone back and forth. It's not that bad, but it's what everyone's thinking if they're not saying it. And so I'm going to get everyone ready to go for our workshops in 2020 so that we are starting off all on a very similar foot, and these courses are going to get you there. And so I'm just about done with putting these together and getting that site up. And so when you were to go to this site, when I announce that it's available, you can see all the dates and click to learn more, and then you'll be taken right to the page where you can register and see all of the itinerary for that workshop. But I want to emphasize to you guys who are considering joining me for workshops in 2020, this is my calendar. If you go to workshops.photogadventures.com, you'll see this page, and you can even see it when it's mid-progress, and you can see how it's going. You can see what's available. Nothing until April, because April is the hikers only Beast Eye Badlands 2020 Trailblazer Adventure. And information on what those Trailblazers are is right here. And I'm also going to New Zealand. So for those of you who want to go to a lesser expensive workshop, trailblazing it, knowing that, hey, I've never been there, and that's going to be new for me too, but I can teach you Milky Way photography while you're there, and we're going to have an adventure together. That's what these are for. And so it takes a 4-night workshop that's typically $1,300, $1,100, and makes it only $500 to join me in Beast Eye Badlands. But you got to be a hiker. You got to be willing to hike in from this spot all the way in to places out here. The spots exactly I can't identify from looking at the map here. But then New Zealand, we're going to have fun with 5 people and 6 people. So those are the Trailblazers. You can look here and decide, you know what, I want to go to Escalante. Well, Escalante only has 1 workshop next year, and there's only 2 spots left right now. I just got another registration for the Nightscaper Conference on May 20th, so I have 8 spots left for the Toadstool Hoodoos and 7 spots left for May 20th North Rim. And then the 1-night Salt Flats, I have it 2 nights in a row, so you can come 2 nights, you can come 1 night. It's $250 a night here in Utah to the Salt Flats shot, and cross our fingers that in June 18th we can actually get out there. And even if we can't get out to this exact location, I'm going to get you guys out to a reflection spot, and we just hope that the weather with the wind is cooperating and we can get a really fun shot. It's awesome out there one way or another. We just hope that we can do this. Then over here, if you wanted to see Crater Lake and Oregon Coast, I only have 1 next year. 1 in June. Then in July, Southern Utah, going to the Natural Bridges National Monument, Goblin Valley, and a couple new places instead of going to Goosenecks. And so you'll have to see on the itinerary where those new places are. And then Faroe Islands. Next month, I'm out there with Rhonda and Kathy, and we have 1 spot left available. If you go to our regular workshop site on photogadventures.com, you can sign up for it. But the Faroe Islands Adventure Workshop will be September 14th through 21st next year. So you can get ready to sign up for these. If any of you want these and you don't want to wait for this site to be finished, message me directly, Aaron@photogadventures.com. And I'm pointing to myself, so I will turn myself back on. Message me directly, and you can get a hold of me and say, hey, I want to register for that Escalante spot, and then I'll set you up. It'll be fine. You don't have to wait for me to make this to go live. I just wanted to make sure that it's ready to go for when people who are, on the fence, want to learn more. This will be available by the end of the week. So, boom, let's go see how our Milky Way, our panorama's going. To go. I thought Mary Beth said to God, but she says, no, I can't type. Would love to go. Awesome. You should go to Beastside Badlands. Mary Beth, we're hoping you're going to come with us next week out in Oregon coast. Maybe that's going to happen. Maybe not. Robert, be great if you joined. Oh, looks like I lost my rim light, and that battery is not full anymore. But I should be done anyway. Panorama's finished. Now we're going to see it. Where is it? Okay. Oh. Ooh. So dim. Now I've already merged all these raws together. There's no way to fix highlight. Oh, wait, there is. You can still change highlights in some settings in the panorama stitch. The raws, they still have the temperature. They still have everything. You can make these global edits. The thing that you lose a chance to do once you stitch really comes down to the lens profile correction, which we haven't done any on these images because we can do that in another scenario, apply the enable profile correction, blah, blah. That's the big difference. You want to do that before you stitch up. So let's bring the highlights back up. I mean, that really helps the sky. It was somewhere around plus 20. Gosh, I love that a whole lot more already. So when you look at the color difference between this image, which was temperature 38.49, and what we got from the salt flats, which is 41.21, I'm already liking it a lot. And it's possible that this would look fantastic. Before I submit this image to anything like the Astronomer Photography of the Year contest, or for a printing that's going to go on the back wall, I'm going to make some changes. And I'm already thinking that having that purplish sensor noise get kind of washed away with the color balance here, I'm appreciating that. You can see that it's happening right here and here and here, but it's not as pronounced for sure compared to how it looked on this one. So if we even do the RA, come on, reference, it wants a film strip. Let's do YY. Okay. So what is it choosing for our other one? I got this one and this one, I hope. I think it's doing the one right next to it. So boop, boop, boop. Let's go to library, not develop, so I can do a comparison of X and Y. So now I'm in the library part of the module and I can choose it. So panel copy here. Let's go ahead and change which one. Oh, it's already connecting to the right one. I can already see down here in the bottom. That one plus this one. So you can see the noise difference. It's loading and getting the quality nice, but that panel I just made versus the original edits. And you can see a little smoothness about the purpling. You don't get it as bad. And yeah, I think I do like what this one is doing to my sensor noise. So you get a chance to apply some edits from another edit and just see what they do to your pictures and make changes. Can you make one edit and apply it to every image you have? Yes, but you're going to have to make some changes. You're going to want to tweak things. You're going to want to go through the color balance and match it for that scene. You're going to want to make sure that you chose the proper crop, the proper, obviously the crop and transformations and spot fixes and issues. But I think you also want to look at the foreground settings that you did on shadows and blacks and make sure you adjust them accordingly. And in some ways, in some textures, in some skies and atmospheres, you'll want dehaze up higher or lower. And you're going to want to bring the vibrance and saturation down because in that scene it went crazy and in this scene it looks awesome. And so you can't necessarily just apply a preset, but it's a good start. And so instead of having a preset, guys, I want you to get used to those easy settings, switching and sliding them around and get better at them, practice it. And you'll find yourself doing it in 5 to 10 minutes, and then you'll look at your image and go, all right, what's it missing? What can I do? What can I make changes with? So that's my challenge for you guys tonight. So Ernie says, where in New Zealand do you plan to go? I've been talking with Mark G, and he has some locations recommended, but going to the Southern Island, and I'm going to hit a bunch of locations that are on my wish list in the Southern Island, the classics, like Tekapo, and the church over there. What is it, the Brother or something? I'm going to be hitting several of those locations plus new ones. And just as we drive down and through, we're going to find cool spots to be like, holy goodness, we're going to capture Milky Way with that. Let's do that tonight because we are going to have 7 nights out there. And so it's going to be a blast trying to figure it out. But it's going to be for people who are adventurous, excited, and we're going to all drive together in one vehicle so that we can all keep ourselves safe. Maybe 2 to have a redundant vehicle to protect ourselves. So, hey guys, thanks for joining for the last 1 hour long Milky Way Wednesday. Can't help myself from making these too long, I guess. But in the future, with these non-live ones pre-produced, you will see as soon as I'm finished with next Wednesday's video, I'll put it up there so you'll see that it's about to come and premiere on August 28th. You'll see that it's going to come out. And so join me there. I will be in the Oregon coast busy with the workshop, so I can't talk to you that night. But I will be on other nights, and join anyone else who sees you out there. That'd be awesome. And Mary Beth says, I might have to see if I can swing New Zealand, but I have no idea. Yeah, who knows right now, but it's going to be amazing to get out there and experience it. So thanks, guys. Have a good one. Remember, get out there and have a photog adventure of your own. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures. Bop. There's nothing else that I want to tell you or show you. So see you later. Have a good night. And man, the nights get better every night. So get going. Sunday night through the rest of the week, rest of the month. It's going to be fantastic for our window. Night, guys. Thanks, Teresa. Love that you love what we do, and hope to see you guys in that listener adventure in Oregon again this November. So see ya.